Hi, I'm Rami Jubran, Chief of Staff here at Drinks, and this is the Drinks Podcast, the business of online alcohol. The alcohol business is at an inflection point. The way people discover brands, how they research what to buy, where they actually make purchases, it's all shifting. A lot of traditional approaches just aren't working the way they used to. Every episode, I'll talk with founders, operators, and executives who are figuring this out in real time. Some are finding real success with new strategies, others are learning expensive lessons. But they're all navigating the same fundamental challenge. How do you build a sustainable alcohol business in a digital world? Whether you're running a winery exploring e-commerce, looking at alcohol as a new category at retail, or building technology for regulated industries, these conversations will hopefully give you the context you need to understand where this industry is heading. I'm very excited to have Shawn Miller on the show today. He's someone who's disrupting the spirits industry from the ground up. He is co-founder and executive at PKGD Group, a company specialized in importing authentic producer-owned agave spirits. Shawn and his partners are agave farmers themselves, bringing a unique perspective to an industry often plagued by deceptive labeling and opaque supply chains. Under his leadership, Packaged has taken G4 Tequila from virtually unknown to the fastest growing tequila brand in the United States. What makes Shawn's story particularly compelling is that he and his team didn't grow up in the spirits business. They're newcomers who figured out how to compete head-to-head with global portfolios by leveraging digital storytelling and transparency in the ways the established players haven't. Today, we're diving into how Packaged uses digital content to drive offline sales in a three-tier system, the role of transparency in building brand advocacy, and what Shawn calls a sweet spot that the industry needs to pay attention to. Okay, so Shawn, you've taken G4 from less than unknown to the fastest growing tequila brand in the US. What was the pivotal moment when you realized that digital storytelling would be essential to breaking through in this industry?
Well, and that's where we came from. And that's always been our ethos has always been both storytelling, authenticity, and what we call brand advocacy. That's always been, that's our ethos. Prior to engaging in the tequila business, we were marketers. We're in the fitness business. We were also marketing food, and we had an agency based in Chicago, primarily focused on food and content marketing and brand advocacy, social and digital marketing, which is where we had the opportunity to enter the tequila business as a client. They were just originally, it was just simply a client of a guy that we knew who was an investor, and frankly, it was probably a terrible choice on his part because, as you know better than me, the alcohol industry is very specialized and specific, and it's regulated, and it's different than selling pasta at a grocery store, which is part of what we were doing before. So we had quite a lot of learning curves early in those phases of those issues. But the ideas of digital storytelling and brand advocacy focus and education focus and transparency, those were already intrinsic to us. So we based our whole foundation on that, and we still do that today.
So you guys kind of had always been doing that advocacy, that brand advocacy, that storytelling. What about alcohol was interesting to you that made you want to try and get into tequila and figure that out? Or was it just that first opportunity came up and you guys were like, this is interesting, we haven't done this before?
Yeah, it literally fell into our laps, and it sounded interesting, and it was a new opportunity. It was a new category for us. It was a new opportunity, and my good friend Jeff, who's the co-founder of Packaged, I always say he has just enough ego sometimes to go, yeah, sure, we can do that, and so.
You need that sometimes.
Well, yeah, and many times I'd be like, dude, we don't know anything about that. And he said, well, I already told him we could do it, so we're doing it, right? So, and I think that's exactly what happened. But that's it. Literally fell into our laps. It was based on a personal relationship, not because we had any competence in that area at all. And it was an opportunity. It very quickly escalated in that originally we were supposed to only be responsible for marketing. And there was another team that was supposed to be responsible for the selling. And they were supposed to know all of this alcohol stuff. And frankly, justifiably, they got fired like out of the get, like really, really quickly. I thought it was completely justified, but they did. And the question came back to us, well, can you help us find distribution? And again, my good friend Jeff's just enough ego to go, yeah, sure, we can figure that out. And we didn't have a freaking clue. So we got our first distributor was in Chicago, Cream Wine and Distributor, and we in Chicago, and we literally got it by Googling who's a liquor distributor and calling and hitting zero and asking to talk about our tequila that we didn't know anything about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, 10 years later. Here we are. You talk about G4 is not only the fastest growing brand, but it's also the largest selling independently owned brand in the tequila category, which is the fastest growing category. So
Mm-hmm.
we're now, and I'm in my home office. Our only office is in Mexico. We all work out of homes. But we're competing head to head every day with Diageo and Pernod Ricard and Cuervo and these characters. And
Mm-hmm.
frankly, we're winning. We're year to date. We've grown our brand 19 and a half times faster than the category of tequila, and that means we're taking share from others, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's amazing. It's remarkable, and it's amazing, and it's awesome, and it's kind of fun as well.
You guys support a few brands. What made you realize that what was the turning point for you where you were like, "Oh no, we can do this not just for one brand, but maybe there's a few others that we can try and do this for as well." Like where it becomes like
Sure.
a niche that you guys are kind of building out.
Sure. Well, there was two phases to that. Firstly, found that we enjoyed this business. We liked the tequila business, so we began to focus more and more on the G4 opportunity and let other clients like not renew or whatever, right,
Mm-hmm.
from the agency. So that was an evolution to that. And as we got that focus, we were able to get G4 to the position where they were kind of running into the limits of what they could produce at that time. And so that produced then some margin opportunity for us. And there's this, you probably know more about the tequila business than I do, but there's a position that they call brokering, right? It's an activity of there's agency work, and then there's sales brokering, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
we thought, so we had a little bit of margin against the growth curve of G, that we decided to explore both additional agency work and brokering work. And that led us down the paths, frankly, to like what we call contract brands in our business. And
Mm-hmm.
what we also, we met some rich guys that had contract brands, frankly, and we did both agency work and we did brokering work for them. And
Mm-hmm.
in the process of doing that, we learned a lot. Like we learned a tremendous amount about the industry. One of the things we participated in was the launch of the tequila that's called Lobos 1707, that's owned by LeBron James and a bunch of basketball players and famous rich guys. And we learned, we got to work with Southern Glazers. We got to work with a national rollout. We sold 45,000 cases in like 60 days, right? We did something, we got to work then, thusly, we got to work with Kroger and Total Wine and all these people that
Mm-hmm.
previously paid no mind to us whatsoever at all, until we came to them with all this celebrity branding.
Yes.
But we were smart enough to learn from that in terms of the contacts and building our business. But we also learned from that we found that unsatisfying, frankly. Like helping really rich guys get a little bit richer, it just was not very satisfying to me. And
Mm-hmm.
and the whole premise of the contract manufacturing, we found to while it, a distillery can produce contract products, they can fill bottles, they can make some money, they can employ people, they can buy equipment, and they can make a nice business, but they don't have what I call generational wealth opportunity from unless they build the brand. And
Mm-hmm.
what we were doing with G4 was we were it's the same. We're working with the producer owned brand and building both the production and the cash flow and the process, right? But also building dramatic brand value, right, at the same time. And that seemed very exciting for us, and it seemed very fruitful for us. And so we decided to redirect those margins of time from, instead of working for some rich guy on this contract brand project, we decided to find other producer owned brands that we thought were something that was world class in its quality, that operated with complete transparency in the way that we wanted to. And we're really doing something exceptional as a producer. The producer, for whatever reason, didn't want to themselves engage in the sales and marketing. They just
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to focus on the doing of the thing, right?
Yes.
And that's been the magic for us with G4. Like, we have an exceptional producer, amazing product, complete willingness to participate and be transparent and on all of those things, but like no desire to be out front and doing the things, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
completely, okay, you speak for us. We're good. We trust you. You know what we're doing here now. You go speak for us. And so we've now found a little collective of producers that meet our three-legged stool, which is producer-owned, world-class, and transparent. But they make mezcal in Oaxaca, they make mezcal in Durango, they're making a product called Raicilla that you've probably never heard of, and a couple of other small tequila brands that fit that model. And we're able to manage the sales and marketing on their behalf, and they're able to focus on making great product, which is what they're really good at. And that little sweet spot, which is different than the other sweet spot that you mentioned earlier, but that little sweet spot is our sweet spot, we think.
So you brought up something that I find really fascinating in alcohol, and especially in tequila, which is the way that doors open up really quickly when you've got a celebrity backed, owned, supported brand versus a producer, a family owned brand. And
It's
you
freaking
got to see
remarkable.
both sides of that because
It's
you started
freaking
out, you went into it, and then you got out of it. And so I just want to ask the question of like, you now have been through that. You've experienced that. You've seen how quickly things can open and move for you when you do have a celebrity backed brand.
mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to a family owned brand, whatever type of spirit, whatever they're trying to sell, of trying to crack in those same things, knowing that they're not going to have the keys to open up all those doors that a celebrity does, right? Like LeBron says, I want to sell, I don't know, asparagus. You know, Ralphs and Kroger's go, yeah, we want branded asparagus from LeBron. Now, if
Yeah.
you want to sell us tequila, we can sell even more tequila than asparagus. But they very quickly open doors where I think that the most brands aren't going to see that happen as quickly.
Well, clearly, and so it's a harder slog, right? To build that, to build it without that big gate opener and that immediate massive amount of reach and impressions that they can make. But what we've seen is that very few of those celebrities are willing to maintain that level of engagement
Mm-hmm.
and to do the real work. And the only one, frankly, that I've seen in the last number of years actually do the work is The Rock. And the brand Terramana is a top 5 brand in the whole tequila category now,
Mm-hmm.
continuing to grow. And he's still doing the work. I mean, The Rock is doing GSMs personally, physically, in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And saying, you bring all your freaking kids, bring everybody here. I'm going to sign everything. I'm doing whatever I need to do to make you guys happy today. I'm present with you for this time. And very, very, very few celebrities have ever been to the place where their product is made at all. If
Mm-hmm.
they have, probably for a photo shoot, and they seem to lose interest in about 90 days in terms of using their personal branding to promote this thing, especially if it's not turning a whole lot of traction. So if you're and you're an independent company like us, then you've got to slog the slog. You got to do all the things, and you can't do some of the things. You got to do all the things, and you got to do them every day, and you got to do them for a long. So we're at this for 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, if I walk down the street and ask one of my neighbors if he's ever heard of G4 Tequila, it's probably no,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're nowhere near the brand awareness of Patron, right? But we're at this 10 years, and we're considered to be highly successful, right? We're now the 28th largest brand in tequila in the United States, which is remarkable.
Yeah, it's
In this
amazing.
in the scope of about 3,000, right? But you just got to do it and do it and do it and do it and do it, and you got to do all the freaking things, right? There's no magical thing. It's all the things.
Yeah. I think what I want to talk about, which I think is going to be one of the things, and being consistent with one of those things, is that digital marketing.
Mhm.
So, what have you seen succeed for you guys in terms of how you're doing storytelling, how you're doing brand advocacy? What are the channels? What are the types of marketing that you're seeing really work well and resonate that you continue to deliver on and continue to beat that drum every single week of
Yeah,
these are the places where we're going to continue to show up because this is what's winning for us.
yeah. We are absolutely crushing and focused and committed to the YouTube platform. And we're very focused on long form content as well as short form content. So I mentioned a minute ago, I said I had a team in Mexico. I have a subsidiary company, technically team in Mexico. We are
Hmm.
13 now in León, Guanajuato. leader of that is Juan Pablo Eloriaga. And Juan Pablo, if he had a magic wand, he would be a documentary filmmaker. But that's kind of hard to make a living as a documentary filmmaker.
Huh?
So Juan P decided that he should find a focus, and he thought that maybe the tequila industry would be a good place to focus because he lives kind of by there and he was interested in that. And he started reaching out to the what we call authentic tequila brands, because lightning strikes if we say additive free. So I don't say that word anymore, right? So, oh shit, I said it, right? But what we call the authentic tequila brands, like G4 and Cascahuin and Fortaleza, and and he started reaching out to these brands, and I, as G4, replied to him, and from that we started doing some work together in making long form content for our brand on the ground in Mexico. I used to do all that myself. And so one of the things I always tell, we were selling in excess of 50,000 cases with me and my iPhone. So I always want to be clear when I talk to small brands, like small brands are talking about how much to allocate to their agency and how many, no, we sold 50,000 cases with me and my iPhone. And I'm not kidding at all about that, right? A lot of small brands get really, really caught up in all the shit they think they need, and they spend a lot of money really, really fast. And I don't think they do. Frankly, I don't know how to say it more simply. I think they just got to do the freaking work. But I hired Juan P for some projects. I actually got him hired for a friend's project, so I didn't even have to pay him, and I got to watch him do it and see what he did. It was actually how I first had him work. And now we formed a company together. We have an office and we have a whole team, and we have videographers, we have editors, we have graphic designers, and we have we have copywriters. We have the whole organization of an agency based in Leon. But we start every focus or every brand story with a central documentary feature that we think depicts the personality of the brand and the producer. And then from that work, then we begin to divide it up into things like reels and other formats and other content. But it always begins with a documentary piece.
When you're talking about long form, how long form are we talking?
We're usually somewhere like 12 minutes of video.
Yep.
So it's not an hour and a half. It's not a full feature film, but
no, I was like, are we talking 30 minutes, 45 minutes? So 12 minutes seems good. Yeah. So tell me the difference between the short form and the long form, and like how you see those different pieces. Which one do you think resonates more, or is it resonating in different ways? Like, how do you use them together?
The short, we're doing 15 and 30-second content in short form in all of the social media platforms. And we're using those, including YouTube Shorts, and we're using those for discovery primarily. We'll do a lot of boosting of that type of content such that we're reaching, millions of people per month with that type of content. And as you know, well, you can quite nicely target that to the audiences that you wish to reach and the places and the people, types of people that we want to reach. I'm very skillful at that. I've been doing that for 20 years. We do that. And then we'll drive them to long form content, which for us is the documentary features and what we call package magazine. So we have something that we're publishing that we call in email and online blog format that we call package magazine, and we have these long form videos. So we're driving people to that deeper engagement, and what we find with consumers in that deeper engagement is the opportunity for what I call brand advocacy. And I think brand advocacy is very, 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 very important. And when we're selling a premium product, especially, I always pull this example out of that, if you're in an environment of a neighborhood or a group or a team or an office, there's people that have different expertises within that audience, and that includes hobbies and right. You're going to know a guy that knows everything about golf. You're going to know a guy that knows everything about cigars. You're going to know a guy that knows everything about barbecues. You're going to know a guy, right? And so, and no offense to anybody that's not a guy, but I always use that term. I'm looking for the guy that knows everything about tequila, right? And the same thing is true in the bar, right? Some bartenders make you drink. Some bartenders really make an experience and are really focused on education and getting you to, hey, if you like this, you might like that, right? Some bartenders are like that. Some storekeepers are like that, right? Some store employees just bring something up. Some will say, hey, if you like this stout beer, you might like this stout beer, and you might, right? So we're perpetually looking to connect with and empower. Is that, I don't have a better word than that. We're trying to connect with and empower those types of characters, right? And we feel like
Yes.
that's absolutely the fundamental thing that is the basis of G4 Tequila success. This past weekend, I was in an event in Austin, Texas. There were people there from the whole country, from tequila, I call us tequila nerds, tequila nerd clubs all over the country, tequila reviewers, tequila influencers, a whole room full of nerds. And I knew all of them. I mean, I knew every single one of them, right? I know them by name. I know where they live. I know what club they're in. And that's been absolutely critical to the success of our brand. And then through introducing those characters to new brands has been fairly easy gap for us to make.
That makes sense. Do you think about, since you can highly target your short form content, which you're using for discovery, are you leveraging that as you think about market expansion to say, okay, we want to go to this state or this city, so let's really hyper target that area with discovery, so that as we're going to hit our boots on the ground and get into places, they may see us before we get there, which is just going to lay the groundwork and make it so it's not a steel bolted door, but a maybe a nice push door that they're willing to open because they've heard of us.
No, that's absolutely true. And I'll circle back to how we got here. I used to personally look up addresses of distributor warehouses and stores and bars where we had the product originally, and I would run 1 mile circles in Meta ad platform, right? In such that everybody that worked at that distributor thought my brand was frickin' everywhere, right? And I would frickin' pound that. That's the smallest Meta is 1 mile circle, right? But I would look up the warehouse or the office address, and I would pound that 1 mile circle, right? With advertising, or promoted content of a brand that outside of that circle, nobody had a freaking clue, right? But as far as anybody knew in that building, G4s are everywhere. Man, I see them every time I look at my phone, right? So that's expanded now, right? Now it's more about cities and suburbs and even states, right? But that principle still exists, and we use that tactic still when we launch new brands today. We'll hyper focus on the plate, the 1 mile radius of a big total line store, the 1 mile radius of a distributor, the 1 mile, like we're really hyper local with our digital.
And I feel like that's one thing that people who aren't as digitally savvy don't realize is like how specific you can get and how just very minor or tightly located you can target. And I think that's one of the things that is so helpful.
I just want to share. I just had this conversation just before I'm talking to you. I had this conversation with a national executive, and I was explaining to them about the traffic numbers and the reach numbers that we're generating on YouTube today. And it just, I could tell it didn't mean anything to him. Right. And I actually made a personal Facebook post the other day where I'd gone through and I'd looked up the data of the reach of primetime television shows. And I put it on my personal Facebook, like for my friends and my mother to see. And I'm like, look, and I said to him, I said, we're consistently reaching with YouTube, with G4 Tequila, twice as many people as Jimmy Kimmel is reaching per month. And I'm like, have you heard of Jimmy Kimmel? Yeah, well, we're reaching twice as many people every month as he is, right? And right now he's a household name. I've only been doing this a short time, but give me some time, man. This is the kind of reach that we're reaching, and we're focused on people that are interested in Mexican spirits, that are interested in going out to dinner, that are interested in 5-star travel. We're focused on the people that are seeing these are not just the public, right? These are people that meet some qualifications that we suspect, right, smell like a G4 customer, and he's like. I really had no idea, right? He literally had no idea that was even a realm of comparison, right?
And I think that's the thing too, is like for a lot of these, you kind of have to tell them like, hey, this is what our reach compares to. Like 1 million views is what Jimmy Kimmel does. He does it on a night, we do it in a month, but like we're still seeing the same amount of eyeballs over a month time frame. And so I think people don't understand how much of an impact you can have, even being more localized with digital marketing.
Clearly. We work extremely closely with Total Wine at this point. They're our largest customer. They're the largest retailer in the country, I believe, but they're our largest customer. And we've done those very, focused, targeted digital, on their store locations for years and years and years and years and years. And that's been really, really successful for us.
One thing I want to ask you before we kind of get towards the end here is, as you gain distribution, let's talk about Total Wine, as you gain a new market or a new territory with them, one of the things that I see a lot of brands forget about is they stop. Once they've gotten that market, they go, okay, we're in that market. Let's worry about getting the next one. But the smart brands, and I'm going to put you guys in the smart brands category, are like, oh, we got that. Now we have to dig into this territory, make sure that we don't lose it, and then we'll focus on the next one later. But we got this one. Now we need to win this one, and we need to stay in this one. And I think that's the approach. And I want you to kind of talk to me about how you guys manage to do that. But I think that's the approach that sets you up for long-term success.
No, I agree completely. And I can tell you that I've done both, right? Because if you remember back to the origin story, right, we had an investor that got us into working with the project, and we've since we bought him out. It's our control now. But at that time, he was like, we need more states, we need more states, we need more states, we need more states. And he was like most small brands. He's like, well, I have a friend in Tampa that owns a bar, and therefore we got to open Florida, right? And I talk to small brands every day that are we're going to Indiana. Why the hell are you going to Indiana? Well, my cousin, his sister owns a bar in Bloomington, and it's really busy. And they're going to put us on a cocktail. I'm like, so you're opening Indiana because your sister's going to put you on a cocktail? Well, yeah, right. And so I totally get it, and I've done both. It's absolutely critical that when you have distribution, working with a distributor, it's brutal. You don't mean shit to them. I actually used to call them toll bridges. I used to hate them. I called them toll bridges. But there was a magical door that opened when their CFO noticed our brand, right? And when we sold so much as to be a contributing factor in their CFO's reporting on their financial status and their margins, it was like the angels sung, right? And I'm like, whoa, this is different, right? And now with our partner Winebow, we are their largest spirits brand. Like, this is different. We're on goal. We're on focus. We have, we train their people. Like, it's a whole different world, but it took a long time, right? So like you're saying, you got to focus. And you get into this point where you talk about, turning frequent velocity numbers and all this data that comes back from Nielsen that I didn't even used to know what Nielsen was. And now I'm reading freaking spreadsheets and looking at turn velocity and I'm trying to make sure that we're focusing our demand drives as best we can where we need them, or and where we're winning, right? Such that the reality is, as much as I freaking love our product and I love to sit and sip it and share it with you, most of my distribution and the retailers are not in it for that. They're in it they're in it for financial reasons. And the only reason I'm valuable or important to them is because I'm impacting their gross margin, right? So we have to focus there.
Well, and I think that's an important piece to kind of ground yourself in, is like, what does success look like for this distributor or this partner of ours?
Yeah.
How do we deliver that? And how do I continue to pull myself out of my focus here and refocus on what is success going to mean, and how do I get to be successful in this? Like, we know we have the right product, we know people love it, we know we believe in it, it's got the right transparency standards, all those things, but it's how do I make sure that the people who are getting it out there are feeling success in the same way that I do, right? Like, if I'm selling to a bar, well, I got to make sure that they like it. Yeah, that's step one. And then if they like it and they get the story and they want to advocate for us, then we're going to see some motion there. But I think when you go up a level and you go, okay, now we're at a distributor, that's not going to be as important to them. They want to see the velocity. So you kind of got to drive on the bottom to make sure they're hitting what they want to, and then they care, right? And then they're willing to start to say, okay, now we can try and get you some end caps, and we can do this for you guys.
It's literally magic. It's until the CFO notices you, the sales department won't. But when the CFO notices you, he'll make sure the sales department is aware of you. And then it's just freaking magic.
Oh yeah, Shawn, this has been delightful. I want to do rapid fire and then
Okay.
let's wrap up. All right, I'm going to hit you with 7 quick questions. So
Okay.
first question is, what is the biggest misconception that spirits brands have about digital marketing? What do you think?
I think they're too fancy, too slick, and too advertising-y with it, and not focused enough on depth and transparency and education of their audience.
It's too pretty. It should be
Yeah,
more informative.
I think so.
Okay. What's one digital tool or platform that every spirits brand should be using?
Well, I have to say YouTube, right? Because I've just talked about our focus on YouTube, and we're just absolutely crushing on YouTube. So I'll say YouTube.
Transparency in spirits, is it a competitive advantage or is that just table stakes at this point?
No, it's an absolute competitive advantage. I mentioned the class of brands that we call the authentic tequila, and the people that used to be on the list that doesn't exist anymore. You add all those brands together, those brands are growing 14 times faster than the category of tequila. So the market is very, very aware of transparency in tequila. They're interested in it, and they're buying that way. It's significantly impactful now.
Awesome. What would you say has been the best digital investment packaged has made for G4 Tequila?
Well, honestly, it's the people. It's the people that create the digital, and the investment in our team that's on the ground in Mexico, and being able to produce now at a really significant volume and exceptional quality at the same time. That's been a real leverage point for us.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say. Just because of how well you talked about the team, and I've seen the content. It looks beautiful. Short form video, we've talked about this. Is it essential, or do you think it's going to start to get like overused?
Well, I think it's essential. I think it's where, pull a Gary V, it's where the attention is, right? Until the attention moves, that's where you have to be. So that's where we want to be. I think we're also we're trying to be what's next, right? We're very, very focused on making sure our content and our magazine content is pulling into AI search functions and these kinds of things. Like we're trying to be where we think the puck will be, but right now the puck is on short form video, and that's where we are.
I love a hockey reference as a Midwestern person, so I appreciate that. Unless you said buck, which I also, as a Midwesterner, like a hunting reference. So I'll take both of them.
You got to be, it's where the puck will be, right? Skate to where the will be, not to where it is. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, last 2 questions. What do you think is a digital trend that's overhyped in the spirits industry?
You know what? It's all of the QR code activations that are on everything left and right, including us, and the utilization is for shit. It's just absolutely like
everybody's doing it, but no one is using it.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere at events. Every poster's got a QR code. Every booth's got a QR code. Every bottle's got a QR. And the uptake, as far as I can determine, is just absolutely for shit. Consumers are not interested.
Not yet. Maybe that's where the puck's going to be.
I hope so.
Maybe that's where it's going to be. What do you think is a digital trend that's undervalued in the spirits industry?
Well, I think I think transparency and that authentic messaging and transparency, and I really think it's undervalued. What the value of really transparent education based content that can be done with an Osmo or an iPhone, that's really, really deep. And I understand most people won't be interested, right? But the value of that content to the few that will be interested is huge, and those few will amplify it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where having a few really loud people is better than having a lot of quiet people.
Dude, I just had a really interesting thing I'll mention this morning. I have the Google Gemini bot running around in my environment all the time. I had it looking at my Google Ads page today, and it told me that some of my ads were performing much better. So I just asked it, why is it performing better? And
Mm-hmm.
it thought and thought and thought, and it came back and he said, well, we think based on what we can find on Facebook and Reddit, and it had all these different sources that it listed, but Reddit was one I remember. Based on what we're seeing, the organic reach and awareness of the brand and discussion about the brand is increasing at the same time as you've increased your ad spend, and those things are complementing each other as such that you're getting a bigger value for your ad spend because of your organic brand awareness. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I win the day.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's what you want, right? You want that organic piece, but that's going to come from people who are
Heck
passionate
yeah.
about the product and are talking about it, not because you're telling them to, but because
Yeah.
they want to.
Casual fans are not on Reddit talking about your product,
No,
right?
no. Yeah, we always say the thing is like people will talk or leave a review when they had the best experience or the worst experience.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell you that they had an okay experience.
I know.
I'm not going around telling everybody like, "Oh, I had an okay haircut." I'm telling people I had a great haircut or I had a horrible haircut. I'm not like in the middle. Yeah, it was
Nope.
fine. Like there's
100%.
no story there.
100%.
Shawn, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah.
I've been fascinated with the story that you kind of walked us through in G4, how you guys kind of got into it, how you guys have built it up, how you guys have invested in it, the things you've seen work, the things you saw not work. It's been really cool. The work that you guys do at Packaged is beautiful. It's really cool to see that type of content. You really are showing a masterclass on how to compete with big players on your own terms, and you guys are starting to become one of those. So maybe if you and I have a conversation in a year, I'm going to say, Shawn, you guys are top 10 now. Like, I don't know that I can't call you guys a big player anymore. I'll manifest that for you. Shawn, how can people find you guys? Tell me your socials.
Yeah, well, we'd love for people to find Package Group. It's PKGD Group, and that's .com or at Package Group on any of the socials. And I really, really, very, very proud of what we're doing on YouTube, and the channel is Package Group, and very proud of our magazine, which is at packagegroup.com. And you can go there and subscribe for free to receive our stuff in an email format. That's I think a beautiful magazine format, and as good as is happening in our category anyway right now. I think it's world class.
Awesome. So get on the magazine from Packaged Group. Get on their YouTube, look at the beautiful short form content that'll get you wanting to watch the longer form content. 15 minutes, you can have a nice coffee and watch one of these beautiful videos of the agave being harvested
Sure.
and turned into tequila. It looks beautiful. I get really warm when I watch it, and I've been cold lately. This has been the business of online alcohol. Every episode, we talk with people who are building, operating the space, sharing what's working, and where the industry is headed. If you guys have found this conversation useful, subscribe wherever you listen. And if you know someone who would find value from this, send it their way. I've been Rami. Thank you for listening to the business of online alcohol.